Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1.
Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Football Friday edition. We're not going to be able to say that for much longer, unfortunately. But here we are, a big weekend of football ahead of college football, pseudo-college football. We'll have some of that as well. And, of course, a humongous game for the Buccaneers as the Saints come to town with the NFC South on the line. Mike Neighbors will join us in just a moment, who covers the Saints, and we'll chat with him. And also we'll also be talking some Florida State as this travesty of a bowl game approaches us on Saturday. And we'll hit the Bolts as well as they get set for a big weekend. The Rangers coming to town, huge litmus test game for them. Rangers are the best in the East, maybe the best in hockey, and then Montreal as well. So lots to get to, some NFL stuff last night, some bowl games. We have edible mascots, all kinds of things running around. And I'll say good morning to you, Nick Geddes. How are you from On3 Sports? What's going on?
Good morning. Hope you had a great Christmas. Congratulations on your engagement as well, as we all saw.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
the
sir.
good thing is you get to ignore the game tomorrow or whenever it's being played. I've lost track because of the schedule. It's just insane. But you get to focus on the Bucs. We're playing to steal one of your
100%.
great lines that the owner of the Rays put out. We're playing meaningful games in December.
Yes,
JP.
yes.
And that's
important.
That's big time.
That's important. Yeah, when 5 weeks ago, we didn't think that was going to be the case. I wasn't sure they were going to win another game. But it's interesting how this league works. Just look at the Cleveland Browns, for God's sakes, which we will get to that story in a little bit. But let's bring in our good friend Mike Neighbors, who covers the Saints, as we get ready for what has to be, in my mind, Mike Neighbors, good morning to you. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. I don't know if I remember a game this late in the season when, like, the NFC South was directly on the line. I mean, this is as good as it gets.
I don't want to temper anything because I'm really impressed with what the Bucs have done last month. But think about it, guys. The NFC South is weak, but the schedule is weaker. Not many good teams, a lot of rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah.
If this schedule was just average, how bad would the records be in this division right now? Seriously.
They'd be bad.
Yeah.
We haven't beaten a lot of teams with winning records. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
The
But
Bucs
you're
beat
better
a
than the
single team with a
Saints.
winning
There's
record?
not much going on good
They
there.
beat the Jags. The Jags had a winning record.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
The Packers, I don't think any longer had it, but I think they were maybe 500 at the time, or maybe one of.
Yeah.
Other than that, no.
A lot of bad quarterbacks along the way. A lot of bad quarterbacks.
Well, this is what's interesting about the league. Look at Joe Flacco. And this is always a great topic when we have Nick on, because us old heads against the younger guys, and we're always beating up on the younger guys, and like, you younger players, this generation is trash. And you get some old man like Brady, right? Comes in, wins the Super Bowl. Yes, because he knows how to do the game. He knows how to work hard. He knows how to do it. Joe Flacco comes in, was sitting at home, playing freaking Jenga with his kids, and all he's done is throw for over 250 yards and multiple touchdowns in his first 5 games, the first player to ever do it. Whoops, the Jets' great defense last night with another 300-plus 3-touchdown effort. Like, what the F?
Couldn't watch that.
Yeah, I didn't watch much of it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm watching highlights, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, are these young quarterbacks this bad that nobody can do anything? You bring in some old head like Flacco, and it's like, you just throw a dig, then you throw a fly, then you throw it, then you check it down, then you just – I don't know. What the hell's that all about?
Well, let's make the segue to money. All the money they're paying Deshaun Watson compared to what they're playing Joe Flacco, and let's make a parallel. All the money the Saints are playing Derek Carr compared to what the Bucs are paying Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
The better Baker Mayfield plays, the worse Derek Carr looks.
Yeah,
especially when it counts the last month. It's brutal. And
let's don't forget the Bucs wanted Derek Carr as well. Luckily, he chose the Saints.
And it's not all Derek Carr's fault, but let's just jump into it, okay? I'm gonna put my Buck hat on thanks to my friends at Noggin Boss, just for you guys. Just for you guys.
That's outstanding. That is outstanding. Yeah.
I teach at Florida Southern, and I still have my reporting hat on, so to speak. And it took me 17 calls to track down the owner of Noggin Boss, who has become a friend. And if you go to YouTube, Noggin Boss was the quickest sell ever on Shark Tank, by the way.
Was it really?
Yes. 6.5 minutes. And they were tripping over themselves, the judges, at the end, and they just took their first offer. And now they're just blowing up. They have NFL rights, college football, everything. Yeah.
I think about that. Like, here's my idea: really big hat.
What? That's right. Really
that's my idea. No, what's the idea? Right. That's it. A really big hat.
Right.
Okay. And no, really big hat. That's my idea.
And this is like, can you imagine paying great money for seats, Nick or JP, and you sit behind some guy wearing this?
No sombreros. You can't wear sombreros in the. It's like you got an umbrella on. You brought an umbrella into the freaking. You can't bring it. Do they even let people in with those?
What's that?
Do they let people in with those? Because you couldn't see around the dude's head.
I see him all the time, and the funny thing is, the owner, the co-owner, creator is from Phoenix, Arizona, and he was talking on Shark Tank how he took some, trash bags and snuck them into the arena. And Mark Cuban's one of the judges is like, you snuck trash bags into an arena? Like, where was that?
Yeah.
And he said, Phoenix. So they were all laughing. But I've seen him at games. I took my daughter to LA last week. That's the only NFL stadium.
Saw that. Yeah.
Check that off the list. And I saw a couple there. So, and what's crazy is, they custom for, different entities as long as they get the trademark right. So, yeah. But I will say the Bucs are wearing the big hat right now. I mean, it's crazy to me. This is indicative of the Saints, if you want a Saints perspective. We've been hearing all year, we just got to tweak this. You hear from struggling NFL teams all the time, guys. We got to tweak this. We got to tweak that. We got to do this better next week.
Right.
The biggest disappointment in New Orleans is not Derek Carr. It's the offensive line that is littered with first and second round picks. That's been the strength of this football team. And they traded up a year ago or 2 years ago now to get Trevor Penning. And he's been a monster bust. We'll see if he can resurrect his career in the next couple of years. But they were hoping he'd be that, left tackle of the future. But how about this quote from Eric McCoy, the center of the New Orleans Saints, who was asked this week about the last two games. And he basically said, I'm paraphrasing this part, we're tired of the we got to get better at this. We got to get better at that. Those days are over. This is week 17. But then he says this quote, maybe we haven't been as good as we thought. When your leader of your offensive line says that in week 17, this locker room's been pretty good. I'm hearing rumblings about, behind the scenes, away from the cameras, it not being great. But when your center, when your leader, who's had on the field arguments with Derek Carr, says something like that, that's a huge indictment of the leadership of this football team from the head coach to the quarterback.
I was going to bring that up, actually, because, you see that all the time. I think 2 weeks ago, the Saints won that game. I think it was against the Giants, maybe, and that was the game that McCoy is, yelling at Derek Carr. We've seen it with, Chris Olave earlier in the season. And I feel like Derek Carr, when we were talking about should the Bucs go after him, the one thing we were saying was, okay, this guy was in Las Vegas and
leadership,
holding the fort down and even able to get that team kind of just keep them above water. And I was talking about Derek, and then he comes to, I thought, a very structured organization, and it seems like all that's just gone awry. And I don't know, for $40 million, like you said, it's do you really want to be sucked into this for the next 3 years?
Guaranteed $100 million, guys. Guaranteed $100 million. And you've done your research, obviously, Nick, on this football team. Derek Carr, by all accounts, great family man, great guy. But he is who he is at this point in his career. He's 10 years into the league, and he has 19 touchdown passes, I think 8 picks, which is, decent. But that's who he is. He's never won a playoff game. He'll throw for over 4,000 yards, but he is a horrible red zone quarterback. He doesn't make that play like a Baker Mayfield does to elevate his team. I think one of the biggest misnomers, guys, with Baker Mayfield was that great game he played at Houston that he should have won.
Yes.
The defense let him down in that game.
Big time.
That should have been another, chink in his armor a little bit. But you don't see those kind of plays with Derek Carr. He may finish up with a great stat sheet in LA. He didn't show up in the first 3 quarters. It's all garbage time. all the big yards you see in these fantasy football leagues that drive you crazy. Derek Carr is a great fantasy football guy potentially on some weeks, but it's a big, big misnomer that he's a game changer because he's one of the worst red zone quarterbacks in the NFL in the last 10 years, despite being a 4-time Pro Bowler, because people look at the stats and they don't
the overall
break down
stats.
the games, right? Yeah.
It's a great point. And when it's funny because when you see a guy and you watch a team every week and every play, you get these insights. It's just why you always want to listen to local guys and not listen to national. It's why when you listen to a national guy talk about the Bucs or the Saints, you just roll your eyes. You're like, oh my God. Right. It's just so, it's like, Devin White is one of the best linebackers in football. And you're like, dude, we'll put the tape on, man. It's just not so. So but that's the thing about Derek Carr, and I've been watching this from afar, and I'm like, how is that not a strength? And then I'm like, well, what about Jameis? I know Jameis is super popular within the room, obviously. Has he undermined Derek? And I don't mean that in a bad way, just because of who he is. Everybody loves him. And I think, sometimes if, the number one quarterback is just doing his job and he's not, ingratiating himself to everybody, maybe that's a problem. Is there some weird dynamic going on there?
Well, Jameis to me is the anti-Derek Carr. He's not going to shut down. He's going to take chances. And a lot of times he's going to make big plays, but a lot of times he's going to throw interceptions.
As we know.
I think that Dennis Allen doesn't trust Jameis Winston. We saw it last year with Andy Dalton. Jameis got hurt, but I think he could have played and returned. And I think, he has a relationship, Dennis Allen, with Derek Carr dating back to the Raider days. So I don't think he fully trusts Jameis Winston. I think he likes it to have him as an insurance policy, but doesn't trust him being the guy. I thought it was interesting with Jameis, though, before he got hurt with Sean Payton, that he was playing pretty good. He was managing games. I know that's kind of a misnomer when we say those things, but his ratio touchdowns to interceptions was very good. He was kind of reshaping his career, but then Jameis has just had this pattern where just when you think he's on the cusp, he gets hurt. And that's been the story in New Orleans. So I don't think Dennis Allen trusts him. Dennis Allen has never said that publicly. That's just my opinion of covering the team the last couple of years.
Elsewhere on this offense, obviously
no Michael. Keep this hat on, by the way. Is that all right?
I love it. I love it, and I even see the little Rays helmet peeking out behind it. So I love the Tampa Bay love that you're bringing here today.
That's what I do.
I was looking elsewhere at this offense, though, and obviously Mike Thomas. Yearly scheduled injury again, and he's not going to play in this one. But this kid, Rashid Shaheed, I mean, last year I think against the Bucs, 163 all-purpose yards. He just had a great game against Los Angeles last week. I know the Bucs have given up the most big plays in the entire league. It feels like if Derek was ever going to push it down the field, I think this is a good opportunity for him, and Shaheed might be that guy, don't you think?
Yeah, it's funny, Nick, you bring him up because he may be the only bright spot on this football team this year. I think several people who cover this team thought the secondary was pretty good. Obviously, Lattimore's not playing, and we hate missing the Lattimore Mike Evans, don't we?
Right, of course. Yeah,
doesn't happen.
Sport,
it doesn't happen for this game. But this is going back to the schedule again. Okay, the Saints secondary looked to be a strength of this football team, even without Lattimore. Paulson Adebo is the big shutdown corner. Now the guy who will try to shut down Mike Evans, we'll see how that plays out. I'm not real optimistic about that outcome. But going into the Rams game, this secondary looked to be a strength of the football team. But back to the schedule, they hadn't played a whole lot of good teams. They hadn't played a whole lot of good quarterbacks or good offenses. So when they do, they play a red-hot Matt Stafford, a rejuvenated Rams team who just picked apart the secondary. So if you take the secondary off the table, guys,
no, it's really bad.
It's bleak. I mean, the kicking game hasn't been there. They signed this guy, Groupie, out of Notre Dame, Arkansas State, who looks like he could be 12 years old, and they let Will Lutz go, and he's thrived. And Peyton, there's been no pass rush, offensive line I've mentioned, Derek Carr, and no running game. I think they rushed for 42 yards against the Rams.
Wow.
So think about that, guys. The New Orleans Saints, a team that has been kind of that kryptonite for the Bucs until recently, until the last couple games, enters the game in Raymond James Stadium, I guess the unofficial NFC South Championship game, with not really a strength right now. They really don't have strength at any position. I may throw out linebacker Demario Davis and Pete Warner. Pete Warner's kind of stepped back a little bit. Demario Davis is always pretty dangerous. I may throw out linebacker, but across the board, not good. Very mediocre, and that's why they're 7-8.
Yeah. So you don't have much hope for this team, and I don't think I know Cam Jordan's on the list. Ramczyk is on the injured list. He's been battling a knee for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Even if he plays, how good's he going to be? Alavi's on the injury list. Like, who's playing this week? Who you get a sense of who's playing? Cam Jordan doesn't play. Boy, that's huge.
Yeah, he's been banged up for a while. I think Nick hit on it. Rashid Shaheed. What a great name, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love Rashid Shaheed. Could be a Pro Bowl return guy. I mean, he's really been impressive returning the ball. He's been injured for about 2 to 3 weeks leading up to the Rams game, and he came back. But the first game of the year, Derek Carr hit Rashid Shaheed on a long, deep route, and it looked like, okay, that's going to be a nice connection. And you never really saw it after that. Michael Thomas is, he does the slants and he goes across the middle. They never had chemistry. Then he got hurt. Olave's been back and forth this year. So everything you expected from the Saints this year hasn't lived up to the hype, whether it's Derek Carr, whether it's Michael Thomas. Frankly, Alvin Kamara, after his suspension with the offensive line struggling, he hasn't been that great. Just average, below average, and average across the board. It's pretty crazy.
And doesn't it kind of like tell the parallel, you think, between the two organizations where, both teams well over the salary cap, and the Saints decided to add to it, with Derek Carr and running it back with all the veterans. And then, like you mentioned, Cam Jordan banged up. He can't buy a sack when he's out there right now. Michael Thomas obviously hurt. Lattimore. It seems like the old guard is starting to show them their age a little bit. And then the Bucs, rather than adding to their salary cap, they ate the Brady cap hit. And now the Bucs have one of the youngest teams in the league, and it feels like both teams are going in different directions. So does this feel like if they lose this game this week, and I think that might eliminate them, right? If they lose this game,
absolutely.
It feels like even though the connection between Dennis Allen and Derek Carr is there, it has to feel like Dennis Allen is on borrowed time and probably Pete Carmichael.
And here's the thing with Dennis Allen is a lot of people ask me about his job security. The ownership loves him. General manager Mickey Loomis loves him. There is really some equity there because of what he did as a defensive coordinator, stepping in for Rob Ryan and really kind of bailing Sean Payton out in a big way, and Drew Brees in 2017, because the defense was horrible and they had the 3 straight 7-9 seasons. Dennis Allen was a big part of the resurgence. So I think the thought process is, they haven't said this, but I would guess, they fire Pete Carmichael. They bring in a Canales type guy that can get along with Derek Carr, kind of rejuvenate him and the offense. They get healthier on offense. Dennis Allen, they trust with the defense. Let's give him one more year. But what if this happens? What if the Bucs bury the Saints? And then the final game in the Superdome, really if they lose anyway, they play their biggest rival, the Atlanta Falcons. They have been booing Derek Carr and this football team all year. Can you imagine how ugly it's going to be?
That's going to get ugly. Yeah.
And so to me, you can say he's safe now. I know 2 games isn't a lot, but I think 2 games is going to be a lot for Dennis Allen. We'll see how it plays out.
Against division rivals, get your ass kicked. Yeah. I think a rebuild would be in order, total rebuild, but you got that, you're hamstrung by that contract. Sean Payton knows a little bit about that in Denver as well. So these huge in Cleveland with Deshaun, these huge quarterback contracts are not paying dividends in any way, any shape, form. So, I love where the Bucs sit. It's going to be good. All right, so I guess you're picking the Bucs in this one with your big hat there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not. This is just foreshadowing to my pick. I'm not trying to be a homer here. The big NFC South championship game, baby.
You say big Bucs win. That's what that visual tells me. Big Bucs win.
Yeah, I don't see the Saints doing it. I just and you talk to anybody who covers the Saints, and to hear the starting center say, I love this quote again, maybe we haven't been as close as we thought. That is just, to me, if I hear the starting center say that heading into the game, I'm not optimistic.
Oh, yeah. That's not good. Well, I know you got an appointment to get to, my friend. You have any quick thoughts on your Florida State Seminoles?
Wow. I feel for my daughter goes to Florida State.
I know.
I feel for you and everybody who's covered this program, been around this program. To me, it just shows again, we're going to all tell, even Nick will tell his grandkids, and JP, you'll tell your grandkids, and I'll tell my grandkids, once upon a time, there wasn't a 12-team playoff. No. Once upon a time, there was this BCS. That's how we decided the college football playoff. And one year, a team won every game, and they won their conference, and they couldn't even play for a national title. Yeah. Our grandkids will not know about a lot of this because there'll be a 12-team playoff. Not that will solve everything. but it just shows you how insane college football is, and frankly has been for a long time.
Yeah, we're eating mascots. It's fantastic. Yeah. All right, my friend, thank you for your big hat, and thank you for jumping in here with some great knowledge. That brain of yours needs a hat that big. That's all I can say. Thank you, sir.
Congrats on everything, JP. See you, Nick. Happy New Year.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. The great Mike Neighbors right there. And I got to get me one of them hats. I'm jealous now.
I know. I didn't know that was. I didn't know that was a Shark Tank product, but
I didn't either.
I feel like if you put a logo on anything and it'll sell. Yeah. Anything.
But something like that's such a great visual. Like it's so fantastic and it's so simple. That's the thing. Those ideas are just sitting out there waiting. Right. I mean, what was the pitch on Shark Tank? I'm going to go watch it now on YouTube later. What's the pitch? Get a big hat. A big hat. People like, anybody want in? Yes. I mean, what's the pitch? How long did it take? He said the fastest ever. I'm like, yeah, of course it did. What's the pitch? Look at this thing. Who doesn't want one of these? Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, funny. Maybe we come up with oversized jerseys now.
Like you would wear one. You won't even wear a normal size jersey. Let's be real.
like a I don't know, like a big poofy jersey.
I tell you what, though, I didn't hear a lot of confidence there from Mike, and I don't hear a lot of confidence in general from the Saints fans. Who you
don't see the chirping on Twitter like you normally do.
No, they've always loved to talk, and even Cam Jordan. I go back to that quote that he had at the Pro Bowl earlier this year, where Brady's gone, so the Bucs are going to go right back to where they've always been.
Oh, we need to place that up there.
And here the Bucs sit, and I know the records are almost similar to what they were last year around this time, but I think this Bucs team, I have so much more confidence in it than I did last year's team. I don't think it's even close. And the Saints, I mean, I've been saying it all the time. Like, I know the Saints are, by default, the only other team really that can win the division in the NFC South right now, but I've never felt like they were really in it. No. There's just too much, kind of how I felt last year with the Bucs. There was too much dysfunction going around. I just feel the same thing with the Saints. Yeah. I just don't have any confidence in them, and I have a lot of. I can't believe I'm saying this because this has been a roller coaster season with the Bucs. Like if you separated it in segments, JP, 3-1 start, we're buying hype and everything. Like told you the Bucs are going to be better than we thought.
Lose
6 out of 7. It's like Todd Bowles has got to go. He's going to be fired. And then now they rip off this 4-game winning streak in December of all months when you want to be playing your best football. That's what Tom Brady always taught us. You want to peak in December. And now the Bucs are doing this, and I have all this confidence that they might mess around, and I think they're going to win this division, and I think they're going to give whoever they play in the wild card a shot.
Well, and this is the beauty, again, of being able to watch the All-22. I mean, I don't know anybody who's watching the All-22 of every team. Maybe Dan Orlovsky. He has no life. I mean that in a good way, Dan. But when you watch this team and you watch the way they played in the first 4, okay. They were I thought they played spirited. I thought they played, go back to the first Saints game. They're making big plays at the critical times. Baker was moving around. He was doing some things, big things on third down and in the red zone. The defense was causing turnovers. You go look at the turnovers. The first 4 games, I think they were plus 11 or plus 10 in turnovers. They were in top 2 or 3 in the league. And then that stretch of 6 and 7, they got nothing. And then now they're starting to get their turnovers again and force their turnovers. I saw an aggressive. Remember Todd Bowles in the beginning of the season? We were praising him, wow, he's really aggressive. He was coaching aggressively. And then it's he got up, it's like the microcosm of the games. When he gets up 2 scores, he would put the offense in the deep freeze. Up 2 scores in the second quarter. You're going to win the game 13-6. That's not happening, bro. But that's the way he was coaching. And then 4 weeks ago, he goes back to, what do I got to lose at this point? We're 4-7. We got to start, be more aggressive defensively. We can't sit back in that terrible shell and watch CJ Stroud go right down the field, 15 yards a pop and get into the end zone. I can't do that anymore. I mean, it's just it's obvious stuff, it seems like. And the personnel, we start, JTS is getting all the snaps when everybody can see Yaya Diaby is a monster. He's a monster. Get him on the field. Matt Filer, just awful. Get Aaron Stinney in there. We'll hear Dave Canales talk about Aaron Stinney. David Moore needs to play more. David Moore needs to play more. They finally got the personnel right. They're coaching more aggressively, offensively and defensively, and managing the game more aggressively. At Green Bay, when they got up 2 scores late in the game, did they punt it away from the 42-yard line, for 20 yards of field position? No, he went for it.
Yeah, you have to be aggressive in this
That's a
league
game changer.
as a head coach. You got to be aggressive as a quarterback, and that's the other thing that goes with Baker's play the last 2 games because, they're on a 4-game winning streak. I don't think the performance was great against Carolina. We talked about that. Up until the last drive, I don't think it was great against Atlanta. So it's really the last 2 games that I've focused on where you've seen a night and day difference on this football team and really the vibe of this team and the way that it's changed and the aggressiveness. I could keep going when you talk about players who needed to play more. This one's even more I don't think people are talking about it enough, but hell, I want to see a little bit more Payne Durham. I mean, I know I know that in priority's sake, he's probably really low on the list, but haven't you seen Payne Durham when he gets the ball? He's making plays down in the red zone, which was his bread and butter at Purdue in college. So I want to see that guy more in the red zone. He makes some incredible catches. Zion McCollum, I mean, they figured out a way, even if Dean and Davis are there, they played him at safety, I think, a little bit this last game. They're going to find a way to get him on the field.
Yep.
And then the benching or whatever you want to call it of Devin White. Listen, he sends a message right there, and guess what happens? Devin White comes out, and he responded to it. And I feel like that's what we were kind of looking for. You want to see Devin White do that, respond from the adversity and show up. And I thought the game that Devin played last Sunday was the best game maybe he's played of his entire career.
Yeah,
certainly
absolutely.
in the last 2 years.
Yeah, but you ask yourself, where's that been? He's capable of that every freaking week. And he's been terrible this year. And I don't even know if he's been, that injured. Maybe he just didn't want to play, like he didn't want to play in Green Bay.
I saw him make plays in coverage that I just haven't seen him make in a long,
well, that's what we've
time.
been talking about. We know this. We know how good Devin White can be. And that's why when we turn on the film and we see that, I'm like, what a half-ass effort, man. What a half-ass effort. He wasn't even trying. And that game last week proved it. He proved it. I mean, if Devin White wants to sit there and say, I told you guys I'm good, I'd be like, well, I told you you're a quitter too, because you quit on your team the entire season. Where's that been? First game, great. And then 16 weeks and nothing. 15 weeks and nothing.
But you look how different the defense looked.
Yeah.
This past Sunday when Devin was playing up to his potential. That's the thing. Devin is very important. The role he plays on this team is very, very important. When he plays like that, you see the difference in the defense. It's really no coincidence.
Where's the guarantee that he's going to play like that on Sunday?
There is no guarantee.
None.
And that's why I don't want to get so ahead of myself on Devin. I'm not suddenly saying all right, we got to bring him back because he played one amazing game. I don't want to take that away. Because
you don't bring it back. I mean, I know that ship has sailed for this organization. They there's no way Jason Light's bringing him back under any circumstances. I don't think. We said that about Antonio Brown too. So who knows? I don't want him back, and I certainly don't want to pay him a lot of money. I obviously seen KJ Britt can do a lot of the same things.
But I still want to see, he responded well to the adversity last week. I want to see that continue. The Bucs could absolutely use it. I don't know if he's going to play as much. I think this past week, KJ only got 3 snaps in the game, which I couldn't believe. He got the first one and then got 2 after that. It sounds like it was more of, remember how they said they were going to play him in different packages? Yeah. And it sounded like the Jaguars gave them looks.
Yeah, they gave
Devin
him
was going to, which is probably strategic on the Jaguars' part.
Well, here's an interesting concept, Nick. If you play well, you get to play more.
Right.
So wait a minute. So if I go out there and I play well what I'm capable of doing, I get to play. Yeah, it's kind of how it works. But here's the opposite has not been true, and that has always been the problem. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this team started winning when Devin White was off the field. I don't think that's a coincidence. The way he was playing, he missed 3 straight games, 3 straight games. We won them all. And it's because he wasn't making the game-changing plays defensively with teams taking advantage of his over-aggressiveness and his stupid play and his lack of effort play. So when he's not on the field, you don't have an easy target to attack in key third down and red zone situations. Those are game-changing plays. That's why you lose when Devin White was in there. And we could point to multiple, and we have week after week, the key plays that he screws up that cost them games. And when he went in there, they weren't able to do that. And this week they used him. They used him really well too. They didn't ask him to do a lot of things that he's not very good at. So I think this has been it's not like this Joe Flacco magic has changed what's going on here, where you just insert one person and it changes everything about. What changed for me is how aggressively they're coaching offensively, defensively, and managing games, and they now have the right personnel in the right place. That has brought this team together and galvanized them, and Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield getting healthy the last couple of weeks has helped. I think that Carolina and Atlanta games, he couldn't move around, and that really hurts his game. Last few weeks, I think he's been healthier, and his confidence level, and he's starting to let it rip. That's
right.
Why.
And I was going to get to that, letting it rip and being aggressive. Like, there's a line there, but I feel like interceptions sometimes, I feel like they're overrated in some circumstances.
Yes,
I really do.
I totally agree.
We've had this discussion before. Like, Aaron Rodgers, I don't think has thrown 100 picks in his entire career, which is like an incredible stat. But Aaron Rodgers also doesn't win enough as much as you think the talent would dictate. Exactly. And I just think it's because in those moments he doesn't rip it. And you keep bringing up Joe Flacco, and I feel like it's very appropriate to bring this up. You want to know what Joe Flacco, he's 38 years old. This guy's got nothing to lose. He's just going out there and slinging it. Like, Joe Flacco's throwing picks, but guess what? He's so aggressive that more often than not, it's actually working out for him. And they got good skill guys in Njoku, Cooper, Elijah Moore, all these other guys. And they're going out there and getting it for him. And you're seeing what happens. You got to be aggressive. Whereas you look at some of these other quarterbacks around the league, and you mentioned why it seems like the young guys can't take the mantle from some of these older guys. I feel like the young guys now, it's like, I don't know, maybe they're so scared to
terrified.
Turn the ball over. And these older guys, and I think Baker is starting to get this now over the last couple weeks, you just got to rip it, man. And you got to trust the arm talent that you have.
Exactly.
And if a turnover happens, shake that off and get right back out there, and don't let it deter you from continuing to push.
Well, here's the deal with Flacco. He knows one thing. If he turns the ball over, he's got the best defense in the NFL behind him.
Right.
So it's not going to – maybe they'll get a field goal. Unlikely they're going to get a touchdown. But if you're throwing – multiple touchdowns every single game, which is what he's done with a defense like that, you're going to win football games. You're going to win. They're not going to be, if you're scoring points, even if you turn it over, they're probably not going to get 7, and you're getting 7 when you let it rip. So now with Baker, I think it just got to the point where, maybe someday a book will be written, but I can just, by what we saw on film, and we kept saying it here, hey, guys are open. He ain't pulling the trigger against Carolina and against Atlanta. As the guys are open, he's holding the football. And against, back into that losing streak, he was holding the football. And every week they're going in, and Canales is going, okay, look, Mike's open. This is open. You got to let the ball go right here. You're not letting the ball go. And I think against Green Bay and maybe even against Atlanta, there were times when, and I think the Green Bay game is a perfect example, because that sack fumble that turns into a touchdown early in the game, he's open. He's open again. He's open deep, and he double clutched, and that caused the sack fumble. And what did he do the next series? He ripped, I think it was a skinny post to Mike in about a window this big, and he hit him in stride, and then he did it again to Godwin. Then he did it again. Then he did it again. And I think he just realized, I got to play this way. I can't play scared. And, because Canales has been, he's the day one, he came in there, was like, we're not going to turn the ball over. And I think, like you said, that can become a detriment to a quarterback. And I think also you look at situations like Patrick Mahomes, he ain't getting pulled. He's going to throw some picks. Josh Allen knows he's not going to get pulled. He's going to throw some picks. But those guys are also going to throw a lot of touchdown passes. And maybe, Mahomes not as much anymore.
Listen, every great quarterback, Brady, Breeze, Brett Favre, certainly. I mean, all the Peyton Manning, these guys all threw picks.
Yes.
They all threw a lot of picks.
They threw for 40 touchdowns.
Right. They also threw for 40 touchdowns or 50 touchdowns or whatever. They won Super Bowls doing it that way. I mean, you got to be aggressive. I mean, there's a line there. And I think Jameis, when he was a Buck, clearly he went over that line. Okay.
Yeah.
And to the point where now, no GM or coach in the league trust him. Okay. Right. He went over that line. But Baker's not even there, and he's only thrown 8 picks. It's not like he's been very reckless. I mean, everybody loves to point to on tape, well, this guy dropped this interception. This guy, that happens to everybody around the league. But I think Baker is a top, I don't know if he's a top 10 quarterback right now. I'm not going to go that far. But I think he's a top 10.
That's what the numbers say.
I know the numbers say that, but I don't want the last 2 games to excuse everything else. Where
Exactly.
I thought he was just kind of, above average or whatever. But Baker as an arm talent, I think, is in the top 10. This guy can really rip it.
He can.
And you're seeing that the last 2 games, and it's got to continue here against New Orleans because I want to wrap this up. Let's wrap this up before the new year hits. Get that division crown, and let's get ready for the wild card.
Well, I love what Mike Neighbors just said. I mean, and I thought this would be a more formidable Saints team, and I still think they'll bring a lot of emotion, and it's a division game, and they know it's their last stand. So, but from a personnel standpoint, they're down. They're down. And, but this is where I get a little cringy with the Bucs, right? They don't know how to handle prosperity. 3-1, he tightened up. And, even within games, we've seen him do that. Last few weeks, he hasn't.
Yeah.
So
the Bucs are like the media darlings all of a sudden.
Yeah.
People are talking about Baker being comeback of the Player of the Year award winner next to Joe Flacco. I mean,
Sal Pal said, he should be in the MVP discussion.
I wouldn't go that far. People are starting to take note of Antoine Winfield Jr. As the best safety in football, maybe an outside shot at being a Defensive Player of the Year candidate.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm watching Good Morning Football this morning, and Peter Schrager is letting everybody know who Yaya Diaby is, wearing his jersey today on set, saying this is a Defensive Rookie of the Year. Canty's getting his flowers. There's a lot of hype around this Bucs team right now, which is interesting because it's not like they're like an 11-win football team. It's an 8-win football team right now in a bad division. Not taking anything away from what they've done, but I think the hype is getting maybe a little too much right now for the Bucs, and I want to see how they respond to it.
That's why I was excited when we had that report a few weeks ago that Yaya was dating Dua Lipa.
That was fake.
No, I was pissed off that it was fake because I'm like, we got a storyline. The NFL loves these storylines or creates them. Take your pick. I'm like, wow, we got it. Now we got a pop star dating one of our players. Oh, we're going to get some wins out of this. So, although it hasn't worked out well for Kansas City.
No.
Yoko Taylor has not really done them, although she's not dropping any passes, unlike her boyfriend.
No, she's sitting in a nice suite, by the way, up top. And
what do you think? She's going down in the masses?
No, absolutely
that ain't
not.
happening. Yeah.
I think it's funny though how she becomes like an easy target. Like nobody wants to put any blames on Mahomes because
of course not.
We can't do that. We've already maxed out how much more blame we could put on the receivers. Kelsey hasn't caught a touchdown in how many weeks, and he's a Hall of Famer, so we can't really go after him. So it's like Taylor Swift, she's the problem.
Ever since that he got that 2-1 shot, Kelsey has not performed very well. He may be struggling a little bit physically. That may be the problem. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back on the other side, and we'll hear from Dave Canales. We'll hear from Baker Mayfield. We'll get into this Florida State nonsense as the big bowl games are coming up this weekend. We'll look ahead to those matchups as well. We got some other NFLs to get to. Oh, we got to talk about the Pistons, who are setting NBA records for losing. Lots of other good stuff to get to. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Scott Jeeves, big fan of the program. You've heard him on the program and also in his office in St. Petersburg or Tampa. He's a local guy, folks. And when you hire the Jeeves Law Group, you hire guys that know the local territory. They know the local legal system where your court case will be heard. That is important. They're not just looking to settle your case quickly and get a little bit of money for you and a little bit of money for them. No, they're looking to take your case to trial to get you the maximum benefit. So that's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. If you're in an accident, this really, really matters, folks. Don't just become a number in one of these big firms. Go to someone who really cares about your welfare, and that's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Back in 3. Tired of those stuffy, overpriced sports bars? Well, come join the fun at the Patio in South Tampa and watch your favorite football teams under the stars in a tropical paradise. It's a unique setting with huge wood decks beneath the trees, and don't worry, they have an inside AC bar with all your favorite bar games as well. The patio has all the NFL and UFC sports packages. It's home to the Tampa Gator Club and the Bills Mafia, but all fans are welcome. Hey, my FSU buddies love to watch the Noles at the patio. It's also home to a great happy hour weekdays. $5 White Claw vodka and $5 White Claw seltzers. $1 off all beer and wine from 3 to 7:30 off their already low prices. And every Friday happy hour, join us for Football Friday. It's our live broadcast from 5 to 7 o'clock with tons of specials. The fan mic for you to join the show. We'll have some swag and some ticket giveaways and more. So come out for the live broadcast 5 to 7 every Friday at the patio and come watch football in a tropical paradise. 421 South McDill, just a few blocks south of Kennedy. Everyone meets at the patio. JP here from my friends at your local Synovus Bank, and I do mean friends, and I do mean local. One of the local managers in Tampa is John Acosta, big fan of the show, and I've known him for over 40 years. He's been in local banking since 1983. You talk about developing relationships. You don't stick around for that long unless you're doing things the right way and have a great reputation, and that's the focus company-wide at Synovus. Big enough to handle any complex international transaction, but small enough to answer the phone when you have an urgent question about your business or personal account. And for personal accounts, they have a very easy app that works great. You can do everything online. And for large or small businesses, you will get that personal touch and services to help build your business, taking your dreams and aspirations from the whiteboard to reality. We can make that happen. Let us show you how. For a Get Acquainted meeting to open a business or personal account, just call John or go to synovus.com to find out where your local branch is. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. The holidays are engagement season. Where better than the Gold and Diamond Source to get that special ring? Of course, the customer service is impeccable. Julie and Steve Weintraub are the best of the best. And only natural diamonds, of course. It takes billions of years to form natural diamonds. You don't want something that was made in a factory 2 weeks ago. She certainly doesn't. And why deal with the mall madness when just one trip to the Gold and Diamond Source gets you all you need? None of the parking hassles, no nothing. The Gold and Diamond Source has the perfect gift for everyone. And don't forget to shop the Emily from Emily Johnson Weintraub, which is an affordable gold and diamond jewelry collection. It's always stylish and unique, and Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching modern geometrical shapes. And don't forget, for the holidays, only 3 to 5 year interest-free financing. And don't forget, for the holidays only, 3 to 5 year interest-free financing. So this holiday season, keep it local and make sure it's a Gold and Diamond Source diamond, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here. By the way, the Golden Diamond Source having their after Christmas sale right now, 50% off everything in the store. Go check it out. Great deals. So if you got some of those Visa gift cards for Christmas and you got some money to spend, it's burning a hole in your pocket, go get something shiny at the Golden Diamond Source. Prices are the lowest they will be all year, 50% off. And don't forget, 3 to 5 years, no interest financing. So pick up something nice and shiny for your girl, like I did at the Golden Diamond Source. Yes, she said yes. Yes, she did. My proposal maybe went a little bit better than yours, Nick. I mean, I don't want to.
Oh, it didn't look like I was like rummaging coke out of my wallet. It didn't look like that.
No, it did not.
Okay, cool.
It did not. Had the kids involved. You know, had the pillow, have them bring the ring in on a pillow, a nice white pillow, and made a nice video. I did a video of some of our better pictures and collages over the 2 years we've been together to the Train song "Marry Me," if you've heard that one. So that was good. So that set the mood a little bit. And then I performed an original song that I wrote just for her, and then popped the question. So
see, you're a lot better planner than I am. I think that's part of the reason why mine went sideways quick was the planning was a little too late. Just like for Christmas, you know what time I ordered or I bought Casey's gift for Christmas, by the way?
Oh, that would be about 10:30 on Christmas Eve.
All right, you're selling me a little short there. It was 4:30 on Christmas Eve. 4:30 on Christmas Eve in the middle of a work shift where I couldn't pick it up in time. So I had to call reinforcements to go pick it up for me and wrap it for me and then be able to get it to me in time for Christmas to where. So, yeah, there you go.
Attaboy. Well, we got it done. You know, you got it done.
We got it done. We got it done by deadline. That's why deadline, it's not over until it's over.
See, people don't understand us people that live on deadline, you know, and people look at you like you wait till the last minute all the time. Like, yeah, it's when I do my best work.
Exactly.
Under pressure
against the wall and you got to go and you pump caffeine into your system and you just run.
Yeah, that's the way it works, you know. Everybody doesn't have to be, you know, the worldwide planner. You know, you can't, sometimes some of us just don't work that way. And you have to embrace that about us and love us for who we are, or just get frustrated and mad. But and that's what's great about the lovely Ashley. She accepts me for who I am and understands that this is kind of the way I work. So yeah, and that, as Casey does you, and that's what makes the magic happen.
I still get a lot of speeches about planning better. You know, those don't ever go away.
Those won't, and they won't ever go away. But if you didn't accept it, then you wouldn't be together. So. All right, so wanted to get to a little bit more on the FSU situation. As it stands right now, FSU has no backup quarterback, no scholarship backup quarterback. They have no scholarship backup running back. Imagine that. They got one scholarship running back. Behind that, a couple walk-ons, and then I think on the depth chart they list a couple of receivers as would-be running backs that will be behind Brock Glenn. So Brock Glenn will not be working with Johnny Wilson or Keon Coleman or Jaheim Bell. 87% of the Florida State offense in terms of production will not be playing in this game.
Good luck.
It's a spring game preview is what it is. Now, I know on the 2 deep depth chart, I think it said the total number of players in this game that won't be playing is 40. And for Georgia, though, many of those are injury issues. There haven't been a whole lot of opt-outs. I don't think Brock Bowers is going to play. That seems to be a bit of a mystery. I would be shocked if he does. But there's no question that Georgia has done a much better job of keeping their players interested in going through this. And for Florida State, this is such a unique position. I don't think you can point the finger at Mike Norvell or the players or anything. This is none of their faults. This is all on the adults who failed them in this process. This is on, and I've read so much about, Florida State should stop whining and this about this and this, that, and the other. And I don't think it's whining. It's just like, okay, this happened to us. Here's what we're going to do about it. We're going to file a lawsuit. We have great grounds for which to file a lawsuit, and we're going to go forward with it. And we're going to get the hell out of the ACC, and we're not going to the SEC because they are ruled by who? ESPN, who just effed us in a political hit job. There will be more revealed that shows that. If you don't know it already, everything, the writing was on the wall. Everything we've heard and talked about is clear. They elevate 2 SEC teams, not just one, but 2, because Texas is going into the SEC. And ESPN holds that entire contract now. And what are they doing while they promote the college football playoff? Oh, they're promoting the fact that they're the all-SEC network now. And they own the college football playoff. And this is something I don't think people know. They set it up. They put the college football autonomous committee together, which is not that. and they do it in complete secrecy so they can control whatever they want to control. So to suggest that FSU did not get jobbed is just ignorant. It's ignorant. And while, I don't play for the team, I root for the team. And I'm well over the fact that, okay, they're not going to win a national championship this year. And even if they got in the playoff, the chances of them winning a national championship were about as good as Michigan's chances, which is to say 0. By the way, Michigan post Connor Stallion averaged 278 yards per game on offense. Less than FSU without Jordan Travis. Just a little number there to throw at you.
I was going to say, like, to that point, I don't know if I've said this on here, but, I've said it, to other people that I've been talking to about this. Like, if Florida State got their ass kicked in the playoff, which it seems like a lot of people think that would have happened. I personally don't, because I think they would have made it a game. I'm not saying they were going to win the games, but I think they would have made it a game. Yeah. I think Florida State at full strength was way too talented to get blown out, even with some of the other issues that they were facing at quarterback.
Agreed. Yes.
But if they did get their ass kicked, well, you know what? They earned the right to get their ass kicked. That's kind of how I felt it. Like, yeah. I kept saying,
like how many other Big Ten teams in the playoff that have been
right? I just kind of was like, okay, well, if they get their ass kicked, they earn that ass kicking, and it seems to happen to one team every single year in the playoff anyway. And I guess this was the year that people said, okay, we're not going to let this happen again, which is funny because I saw Alabama get their ass kicked in the championship by Clemson, who by the way, they play in the ACC as last time I checked. Right. I saw this Washington team 7 years ago get jobbed in the playoff. I saw Michigan State get jobbed in the playoff. But it's besides the point. I'm more upset and saddened at the fact that this is the Orange Bowl, which is one of the most prestigious bowl games out there. This is Florida State and Georgia, two of the biggest brands in college football, that don't play each other. I don't even remember the last two. I don't remember the last time these two teams played each other, to be honest with you.
I think it was in the Citrus Bowl in 1984. I was at that game, drunk as a skunk. And Bobby Bowden ran we scored late to make it a 10-9 game. And what is Bobby Bowden? He goes for, 10-8. We're down by 2. And Bobby runs a reverse to Darren Holloman for a 2-point conversion. What a call. And it ended up being like a 10-10 tie.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, there you go. You're going back to 1984. There you go. And that's my point is, like, we get this matchup that on paper looks so great. And it's got the least amount of buzz of all the big, New Year's 6 bowl games going in right now. And that
can't sell tickets.
They can't sell tickets. It doesn't seem like any Florida State fan is really up for this one. They're just kind of indifferent about it.
I was offered two free ones in row 7. No, thank you. Not interested. Right. Not interested in going to Miami. Not interested in going to see my team my gutted team. And again, these players, I don't blame them one bit. I mean, why would you?
A lot of it is the product of the system, and I think Mike spoke about this today. I mean, you're asking a lot of players and coaches to make very important decisions, and you're like, I need the answer now. I need it right now. You don't have time to go talk to anybody about it. I need it right now. Okay, when in regards to should I enter the draft, should I enter the portal, this and that, and you kind of are left with what you have at this moment. But at the end of the day, though, this is Florida State going for an undefeated season, which I think has only happened twice in their history. Was it 1999 and 2013? Were the only 2 undefeated Florida State teams to finish that way. And this is still Georgia, who, yes, they've been hit by the portal a little bit, but like you mentioned, of the players on their roster, they haven't had as many opt-outs, and they're loaded. We know that. And you have a chance to finish an undefeated season still and beat the preeminent program, I think, still in college football, and is going to continue that way, in Georgia. So there is a lot to play for, and that's the part that sucks, is you're not going to see these two teams at even strength. And listen, I anything can happen when you play the game and all that. We know that. But from an on-paper standpoint, Florida State is not at the point. They haven't recruited to the level where they just have a bunch of great talent sitting on the bench. Right. Whereas Georgia's bringing guys in that could start at most programs in college football. That's the difference between these two programs, and you're going to probably see on that field what FSU is still chasing after.
Well, first and foremost, they got Carson Beck, their starting quarterback. And
that's a big deal.
FSU's bringing Brock Glenn, who we saw in the championship game was – and obviously Mike Norvell wanted to play a defensive game because he thought all he had to do was win the game. And what head coach would not want to limit the exposure of a true freshman quarterback getting his first start if he knows he has a great defense and if he can control the game defensively, he can win it and get into the playoff. That's what he thought was going to happen. That's what everybody's been told. That's what has been 10 years of precedent. And they were lied to, and they were never going to get in. Even if they scored 40 points, they weren't going to get in. I hate to tell you this. It was never going to happen. And you'll see as this lawsuit progresses, I don't think ESPN is going to allow for discovery and depositions. They want no part of that. And FSU knows that because FSU has a lot of smoking gun material. This I know for a fact. They wouldn't be filing this lawsuit if they didn't know there were some smoking guns within those network notes that they've asked for. They've asked for show notes. Why would they ask for show notes? Because they know what's in there. Okay. And why would, and all communications with the ACC, with Boo Corrigan, they want his phone and all those other things. ESPN knows there's a lot of dirty laundry there that they don't want aired into public. And it will all be aired if this thing ever goes to trial. So it's not going to trial. And this is how FSU is going to get out of their grant of rights and get into the Big Ten and go to Fox, which is what should have happened all along. But you didn't have to screw at the FSU players and the entire organization and discredit college football. That's what you did. You discredited college football in a greedy, manipulative way which is so on brand for ESPN. You did that to these players. You did that to the ACC. You did this to college football, the integrity of college football, and you made a mockery of it. And I think a lot of people look at your little beauty pageant playoff with the side eye and go, man, is it really that legitimate? I don't think it is. I mean, I know I might be a little biased, but you've admitted through your talent, Desmond Howard and Kirk Herbstreit and everybody else, that the reason, which I know it's not true, is that you were afraid FSU's offense wasn't good enough. It was better than Michigan's post Connor Stallion, better with a backup quarterback. So that doesn't make any sense.
Keep in mind, one of the big selling points, and I feel like it is why, at the end of the day, people are still going to watch these games. Maybe the Florida State fans are going to boycott or stuff like that. I don't even know if you're really interested in watching it, but they're still going to do because listen, it's Alabama and Michigan, and it's Harbaugh versus Saban, and it's the Rose Bowl. I mean, listen, in any other scenario, we would all sign up for that, wouldn't we?
Yeah. But look at Harbaugh. He's tainted. The whole thing's disgusting. You got tainted Michigan and Harbaugh, who's been suspended for most of his games this year. You've got the whole stink of the selection process. You've got an Alabama team that needed a miracle against Auburn even to get in. You got a Washington team that I think, frankly, is the one I'm rooting for, Michael Penix in Washington. But it's a West Coast team, and they haven't fared very well. A Texas team, it's they've got a lot of talent, but is Sark seasoned enough to get this done?
I guess that's the big question, because I think Texas right now
they're
is
loaded.
My favorite. I think they're my favorite.
Yeah, they're loaded. But Saban, you know what? Alabama they have championship pedigree, and that's why I think Alabama's going to end up winning this whole thing. If by some miracle, let me ask you this: if by some miracle FSU were to beat Georgia, okay? I think, what is this line now? Like 28 points is something ridiculous.
Remember, it started at what, 13.5? I can't imagine it's still there.
No, I think somebody told me it was 28. I haven't looked at
it.
If by some miracle FSU beat Georgia, okay, and Alabama kind of squeaks out a win over Michigan and doesn't play that well, and then squeaks out in a bad national championship game, squeaks out a win, and they're sitting there at what, 15-1 or 16-1 with their best win, and then FSU beats Georgia, which got Alabama and FSU sitting there with 3 wins in the SEC, undefeated, a miracle win over Georgia. If I'm an AP voter, I'm voting FSU number one. Well, Alabama has a loss, and they didn't look that good in the playoff. And FSU just pulled off a miracle win under unbelievable circumstances.
Yeah, that's the only way.
What the hell? I'm giving my vote to the only undefeated team left standing at the end of the year, the Florida State Seminoles. And if they win the AP vote, they're the national champions. That's fact. That's not even manufactured UCF.
Didn't that used to be kind of how the system was,
Yes,
where you
the
had the
AP
national
champion was
championship game
when you
but
vote
then
at
there
the end of
was,
the year before the BCS and before all this stuff. Whoever was voted number one,
and that's
was
why you
number
have
one.
so many like quote unquote unclaimed national titles
You have
back in the
split
day.
championships because you had the
Right.
UPI and the AP, and sometimes they would split. You had a coaches poll, then you had the coaches poll and the AP, and sometimes they would split. That was the year Colorado and Georgia Tech shared it. So yeah, there's definitely precedent for shared national championships. So if the AP were to vote FSU number one, they would be the AP national champions, and they could not claim, they would have a legitimate national championship.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be fitting? Wouldn't that be fitting for this ridiculous college football season that we're watching?
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen. Listen, it's going to take a lot, and I think you would admit that. If Florida State's
there's no way
FSU
FSU's going to win this game. Nah,
and I got the betting up right now. It's at every place I'm looking at right now. It's 19.5 or 20.
Yeah,
that Georgia's a favorite. So, but we've had this discussion before. You don't play football on a betting sheet.
Yeah.
So again, anything can happen. But if you're trying to talk me into Brock Glenn,
who's reffing the game? Because if it's ACC refs, FSU has no chance. Yeah. If it's SEC, they might have a little chance.
If you're trying to talk me into Brock Glenn going up against Georgia, though, and pulling that out, and I mean, Ja'Kai Douglas, by the way, you mentioned no running backs. It's Keziah Holmes, and Ja'Kai Douglas is going to play running back. He's the backup running back.
Keziah Holmes.
Scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're a Florida State fan, you're looking at, again, regardless of who wins the football game, like you said, this is a chance for the youth to show out. And like a guy like, I look at a Hakeem Williams, who was your 5-star wideout last year. He's probably going to get a lot of play in this game. See how he performs against Georgia. I mean, that's kind of what you're looking for. Yeah, I think at this point.
And your offensive line, for the most part, is intact and healthier. And your defensive line, obviously minus Jared Verse.
Fisk. I mean, Fisk is playing.
He's playing, and Darrell Jackson's playing. This is our first look at Darrell Jackson, who everyone has said was the best defensive lineman in practice. So that'll be interesting to see him. But they just don't have enough horses. And most of these kids, the problem is most of these kids haven't played, so they haven't been out there at top speed. With these guys who are running at top speed, these NFL players that Georgia has. So that's, if
that's
a
lot
of these guys had more reps, maybe, but nah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like this game is going to show you the difference between a Florida State right now and the difference between a Georgia. Like Florida State went undefeated.
No, it's not.
Hold
it's not
up.
Gonna show No, it's not going to show anything.
Listen to me. This is my point that I'm making here. I said it earlier. I'm going to say it again. It's going to show the difference in a program that we're calling the preeminent program and that is recruited at a level that has been virtually untouched by any other program in college football. And you're going to see the depth that they have at these positions and the size at the backups. And now we're going to see Florida State's backups in this game. And you're going to see why, even though Florida State went 13-0, we love that. Don't take anything away from them. It was a perfect storm this year between everybody that came back, the star quarterback, and the portal additions. But Florida State, fact, has not recruited to the level of some of the bigger programs, and this is where it's going to show in the game, and it's why I really don't think they have much of a shot, is because they just don't have the guys behind the starters. That's what I'm saying. That's going to be the difference. Georgia does. Georgia has those guys.
I still think if Georgia were decimated as FSU was, and FSU had most of their starters, they would destroy Georgia.
Yeah,
even with their depth,
Florida State,
even with Georgia's depth,
Florida State starters, I think, are on par with some
grown-ass men. Yeah, grown-ass men. Yeah. I mean, Jared Verse, and those are grown-ass men. But these are young kids, and put in a spotlight in a situation with a new quarterback that they haven't worked with. This is going to be – and I feel sorry for the kids because and this is why I don't want to watch the game. But we're sitting there in the late third quarter, and it's 56-3. And, I feel sorry for the kids who went out there and put their health on the line to take this ass whooping and embarrassment. That's why I think they should freaking just go out there and take a knee and just say, I'm not. I mean, it's so bad. It's such a bad situation to put a team in on so many levels. And there are people at the SEC and ESPN that are just snickering about it. They're just sitting back going, watch FSU implode. We're going to stick it to them even more. And they're laughing about it. They're laughing at these kids that are being exploited for their money and their grant of rights. And that's disgusting. It's disgusting what these greedy bastards have done to these kids. And it's not just this year. This exposes the underbelly of college football and what's been going on for decades of all these fat cat, mostly white guys, by the way, TV executives, athletic directors, and coaches making gazillions of dollars at the expense of the players, mostly black, that have been putting their bodies on the line for decades and decades to enrich these people. And it's disgusting. And this is their, and yes, we'll go to a 12-team playoff, and these bowl games will mean more. And you know what? They'll just make more money as they still keep going back to Congress and trying to take the money away from the players. They can't help themselves. They just keep going back. And thank God Congress looked them in the eye and said, no, we're not doing that. We're not reversing NIL. In fact, you're going to have to pay these players a real wage because that's what's happening. And that's what should have happened a long, long time ago. But these greedy bastards didn't want to leave the money on the table. They wanted to hold it all and get it all. And that's why we're at the point we are. And that's why this game shows me this game is the epitome of that. It's a travesty.
Yeah, and I believe it was Chip Kelly. Was it him who said it a couple weeks ago about how he would fix college football? And there might be a day where the players start getting a cut of the TV money.
Yeah,
and that's the difference of why when people say that FSU's just complaining because they got left out of the playoff and that's why they're trying to get out of the conference. I really think that played a very minor part in this whole thing. It all comes down to dollar and cents. And if say at some point in the future you get to that point where the players are profiting off the TV deals, which I would argue should be the case because they are the product. Guess what? How's Florida State or any other team that's in the ACC or these other conferences going to compete then? Because you just simply don't have money to offer them that the other schools do in the other three conferences. It's just that simple.
For those
but people don't want to listen to that, though.
Yeah. For those who don't know, and I'll try to make this as simplistic as I possibly can. The ACC signed a deal that is approximately 50% below market value, okay, for their media rights. Now, who makes the profit off of that? ESPN does, okay? The deal that was signed, extended recently with ESPN, was the regular channels or the supposed channels, which is 2/3 majority of the schools needed to sign off on. The ACC didn't adhere to that. They just signed off on it. Or I guess ESPN has the ability to accept it. They haven't accepted yet, but obviously they will if they get a chance to in court. That's one of the reasons FSU is filing this lawsuit. So FSU is working at a deficit of $30 to $40 million moving ahead versus the Big Ten teams and the SEC teams, which they are competing against: Florida, Alabama, Georgia. Okay. Now the Wake Forest of the world don't care about that, but the FSUs and the Clemsons and the Miami and the North Carolinas do. You can't be at a $40 million deficit when basically that money can help you in NIL and paying the players, which is where all the talent. That's like having a salary cap, the Bucks being a salary cap $40 million below everybody else in the league. Would you want to remain in that situation if you could better yourself? Of course you wouldn't. And anybody in the league
every other fan base, whether it's Alabama or anybody else, if you were in the same situation, you would be begging for your administration to get out of that same exact deal. And that's what Florida State is simply doing. But I get it.
They're doing.
Florida State is now the redheaded stepchild of college football over the last month.
That's because people they don't know these facts. They don't know these facts. They don't understand how it works. They think everything is equitable. It's not. And FSU also knows that they're never going to get a fair shake from ESPN. So they want to go to Fox, where Fox wants them. The Big Ten wants them. They need the Southeast region to give themselves a national map in order to sell the Big Ten as a national conference, where the SEC is going to be selling as a regional conference. Right. They just have the Southeast.
And they won't be going alone. The teams in the ACC that are serious about football, and there's probably like 6 of them, to be honest with you, those ones who care, they'll be following FSU. Right now, they're letting FSU take the bullet.
Exactly.
All the heat right now.
But they're coming. But
there's a reason why, if you look at the teams in the ACC that have spoke out against FSU, it's Wake Forest, it's Pitt. Those are the schools that don't count. Yeah. Okay? They are doing that because they need FSU.
FSU is paying their bills. FSU brings all the media rights. You think ESPN cares about Wake Forest football media rights or basketball? Hell no. All they care about is FSU and Clemson and Miami, in North Carolina. Though they're the big draws. That's what makes that deal worth money. That allows them to sell advertising in the games, because every game Florida State plays, at least 3 to 4 million people are watching, if not more.
Yeah,
That's how the money
I would say
works.
it's probably those 4 schools. I actually would throw NC State in there. They care about football.
Yeah, but they're compromised with Boo Corrigan and his brother Tim.
Sure.
Yeah.
But Duke, I think, is getting more serious about football, and because they're such a worldwide basketball brand, they can play in the club. Yeah. But after those 6 schools, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know after that. Virginia Tech, maybe? I don't know.
Virginia, Yeah. So it's all dollars and cents, people. And what Chip Kelly said, something I've been saying for 20 years, eventually this has to go to an NFL model. Oh, but that'll ruin college football, JP. Guess what? Ruined. It's ruined now. What that model will bring to it is some sanity and a level playing field for everyone. And what do I mean by that? You get your super conferences together. You're going to have maybe 96 teams, maybe it's 84 teams, however you do six super conferences, 4 super conferences, whatever it is, do them regionally, okay, in divisions, win your division, get to the conference championship game, into the playoff, just like the NFL. The players represented by a union, and they get paid, and they get part of the money as well. They get a large chunk of the money because they're the product, and they always have been. The NFL is no different than in terms of the business model. Big television ratings, big dollars, pay the players. Simple as that. The only reason college hasn't done it is because they got away with this bullshit amateur athlete concoction that they manufactured in the 50s, and they sold it, and now it's coming home to roost. It's not fair. It doesn't work. It's against every capitalistic law and antitrust law that we used to have in this nation. So yes, the workers have to be paid. And then that money that they generate then flows into the school as a separate entity. It's an outside entity to take it out of Title IX and put it in, that pays for all the women's sports and the men's non-revenue sports, just like it always has. But you can do it legally and pay the players. That's what's got to happen. It's got to be that way, because that's the way our system, our capitalistic system, is run. And the sooner we get there, the better. So we'll see. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back on the other side. If you guys have any thoughts, remember, you can jump in on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter as well, and jump in and put your comments in there. We'll read them on the show here. When we get back, we're here from Baker Mayfield, Dave Canales. We're also going to talk some Bolts as well. They got a big weekend coming up. We're brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Christopher Lugo and his staff will take great care of you. You'll get great amount of time with your doctor, not just 15 minutes in and out. They'll spend an hour and a half with you going over your blood work and developing a nutrition program, a workout program, a testosterone program, a supplement program that's tailored just to you. That's the future of medicine. That's what they do at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. BAMMC.com. Book your appointment right through there, BAMMC.com. Back in 3. Hey, it's a great time to buy a house and get a mortgage with American Mortgage Services. Okay, I got your attention now. But JP, rates are at 8%. That's true, but I spoke with our friend Scott Fitzgerald at AMS Tampa, and this is what smart people are doing. Rates peaked at 8% last month, but they've come down, and AMS recently locked some folks in the high 6s. Prices have also stabilized or dropped in some areas. So if you're going to eventually buy, now is the best time to get the house you want. Fitz will get you the best rate out there, shopping it around to dozens of lenders, and when rates come down in a year or so and the frenzy begins again, prices go bananas again, you will already have the pick of the litter. Then he will refinance you and keep costs at nearly zero, because that's what they do at AMS Tampa. You're back at 4% in the house you wanted while others fight the frenzy. Be smart. Stay one step ahead. Email Fitz at scott@amstampa.com, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. Scott Fitzgerald. JP here from my friends at your local Synovus Bank. And I do mean friends, and I do mean local. One of the local managers in Tampa is John Acosta. Big fan of the show, and I've known him for over 40 years. He's been in local banking since 1983. You talk about developing relationships. You don't stick around for that long unless you're doing things the right way and have a great reputation. And that's the focus company-wide at Synovus. Big enough to handle any complex international transaction, but small enough to answer the phone when you have an urgent question about your business or personal account. And for personal accounts, they have a very easy app that works great. You can do everything online. And for large or small businesses, you will get that personal touch and services to help build your business, taking your dreams and aspirations from the whiteboard to reality. We can make that happen. Let us show you how. For a get acquainted meeting to open a business or personal account, just call John or go to synovus.com to find out where your local branch is. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. The holidays are engagement season. Where better than the Gold and Diamond Source to get that special ring? Of course, the customer service is impeccable. Julie and Steve Weintraub are the best of the best. And only natural diamonds, of course. It takes billions of years to form natural diamonds. You don't want something that was made in a factory 2 weeks ago. She certainly doesn't. And why deal with the mall madness when just one trip to the Gold and Diamond Source gets you all you need? None of the parking hassles, no nothing. The Gold and Diamond Source has the perfect gift for everyone. And don't forget to shop the Emily from Emily Johnson Weintraub, which is an affordable gold and diamond jewelry collection. It's always stylish and unique, and Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching modern geometrical shapes. And don't forget, for the holidays, only 3 to 5 year interest-free financing. And don't forget, for the holidays only, 3 to 5 year interest-free financing. So this holiday season, keep it local and make sure it's a Gold and Diamond Source diamond, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. All right, welcome back. As I finish my breakfast snack here. We invite you guys to jump in on the program if you want to hit us up on Twitter or hit us up in the comments on YouTube. We got a few comments here rolling in. Nick Geddes joining me here on this Football Friday. Are you going to watch the Orange Bowl? Because I've got a hockey game that night, and I'll probably watch the first part of it. But
yeah, I got nothing going on, so I'll turn it on.
Yeah, I probably won't. Christopher Cole jumping in here today saying D. White ran full speed with a running back on that wheel route. Yeah, it looked really different than what he did most of the season, didn't it? John Hill is spot on here. Taylor Swift is a huge Philly Eagles fan, and she is getting her payback. Yeah, I saw this from a Philly website saying, yeah, this is a long-planned subterfuge by conspiracy plan by Taylor Swift when the Chiefs beat her Eagles in the Super Bowl that she hatched to go after Travis Kelce and infect that team with her Taylor Swift, whatever that bad mojo is she has with dudes, and it's worked to perfection.
Don't you love Taylor Swift though?
I'm a big Swiftie, yeah. But I'm buying into that conspiracy theory.
You love a good conspiracy theory.
You know I do. They usually come true. It only takes a couple months. Yeah, so I think we'll find out when she writes her next album that that's what this was all about. She infiltrated the Chiefs organization, destroyed them from within.
I just like with the Chiefs, like, why is it so hard for people just to say that Mahomes is not playing good right now?
He's not. He's just not.
Is it so hard to just say that?
Well, I think
he's on Christmas Day, he was awful.
Well, listen, that's because who are the people again, talking about this, the narrative, it's the same people who've said, yeah, just retire the MVP award every year and give it to Patrick Mahomes. And I'm like, yeah, that's dumb. I'm old enough to remember when Dan Marino came into the league and his second year was in the Super Bowl. And everybody said, oh, give the MVP award to Marino and he'll win 25 Super Bowls from here on out. Never got back. The league is unrelenting and it finds a way to beat you. It is
the whole thing with like Brady's like excellence over a 2-decade span, I think has just
complete
warped
anomaly.
People's minds.
Yeah,
I really do. And they thought
will
Mahomes
never
was
happen
going to be
again.
the next guy. That's never going to happen again.
No, it's and I think because I know that those guys cheated. I know that Belichick was monkeying around with the headsets. Why are they such an outlier? Why is he such an outlier that they and the Patriots, and there was always talk about the headsets, going out at key times in New England, in the playoffs, late in the season. There was always talk about him, when Charlie Weiss coming up and telling Rondé Barber after the game, yeah, we knew all your signals and we still couldn't beat you, there's always been tail. And then, of course, the Spygate, they got caught, the last time they get, they're sending out cameras to teams and they're supposed, we're doing a story on our Patriots website on one of the assistant coaches. Oh, really? Because the video that we got had you focused on their defensive guy calling signals or doing stuff. I mean, it's just, time and time again, it's been, so that's a story for another day, but it's not, you can't dominate this league. You just can't do it because the league is set up to kill you. They're going to give you if you finish in first place, you get the hardest schedule. That matters. And you get the lower draft pick. You don't get the way everything is set up for parity. So I'm sorry. And this is what's happened.
Right.
You got rid of Tyreek Hill.
And it kind of like segues into one of my big problems with the league right now. Like I said, why is it so hard to say Mahomes just isn't playing well right now? It doesn't mean I think anything different of Mahomes. If I did a quarterback draft right now, I'm still taking that guy number one. It doesn't change that. But the NFL is such a week-to-week league, and the narratives that get painted are so week-to-week. Like 2 weeks ago, Dak Prescott, everybody was like MVP candidate.
Yeah.
Then he plays a rough game on the road in Buffalo, cold, tough place to play. All of a sudden, Dak Prescott's not good anymore. Yeah. Brock Purdy plays the position at a level as good as anybody all year. Then he has a game on national television on Christmas. We're all watching. He throws 4 interceptions. It doesn't look pretty. All of a sudden, Brock Purdy's not the MVP. You were ridiculous for thinking he was the MVP. Exactly. Brock Purdy's not good. This is who he always has been. Can we just stop with this, please? Quarterbacks and players, guess what? They're allowed to have games that just don't go their way. Right. That happens, man. Yes. I'm so over it. It's like everybody becomes the new flavor of the month. All of a sudden,
prisoner of the moment.
All of a sudden, Lamar Jackson's the flavor. And I shouldn't say that because I love Lamar Jackson. I said that guy should have gotten paid. He wins football games. The objective of the game is to win. He just finds a way to do that. And all of a sudden, everybody's opening up to this idea that Lamar Jackson, he's actually really good. Yeah, he's been good.
Yeah, duh.
But you've been
Look at his
too
record.
busy. But you're too busy nitpicking the great quarterbacks in this league and the ones who are winning football games, but when they lose one game, you tear them apart rather than focusing on the fact that you have guys like Nick Mullins playing in the NFL right now who, you want to put criticism on players, do it on those guys. Derek Carr, stop putting it on the great players, just because they have one off game. That just drives me insane how we do this. And
this is one of my cautionary tales about Baker Mayfield. I mean, everybody this week has been like, let's give him a 5-year deal. He's the future. Listen, nobody has loved Baker more than me since the beginning, right? Since that first press conference, he won me over. I went back and looked at his tape and I'm like, this guy's pretty good. He's got a chance to do something here. And we even predicted that the Bucs would win 9 games, win the NFC South. And I said, I think Baker's going to have a better year than Brady did. And that's all coming true. But I'll say this. I watched Baker struggle this year a lot. He almost, in my mind, I would have replaced him because he wasn't seeing the field and he wasn't pulling the trigger. That's facts. But they stayed with him. And I know if I say, I bring in Kyle Trask, doesn't mean I'm staying with Kyle Trask. But in a game where you just can't pull the trigger, and you've been doing this for 3 games in a row, I got to see something different. But they didn't. They stuck with him. He started to let the ball go. He started to play with confidence. Now, what if he reverts back in this game against the Saints who have a pretty good defense, not great, but a pretty good defense, and who might just rise up. Dennis Allen's a pretty damn good coach when it comes to defensive football. But we put 26 on him okay, every game's different. Every week is different, all right? So what if Baker, just like Brock Purdy, 3 tip balls, throws 4 picks, they lose this game, and then God forbid they go into Carolina, and Carolina, like they did last year, beats them 21-3. And we're sitting here out of the playoffs. Y'all giving Baker a 4-year deal then? No, you're not. You're not. So week to week, everything changes. So let's just say this. We hope that Baker, and I believe that they'll keep this roll going. I think they're going to beat the Saints this week. I think they're going to go into the playoffs as 10-7. But that doesn't always happen in this league. We see shocking things every week. The Raiders beat the Chiefs.
I'll tell you,
the Ravens destroyed the 49ers.
I'll tell you
every
this,
week.
If the Bucks do win this game against the Saints and wrap up the division, I'm not doing what they did last year against Atlanta.
Me neither.
I'm not messing with it. You have a chance.
Pedal to the metal.
You would have a chance then to win 6 games in a row after a 4-7 start and really plant yourself here. Hey, we're here to play. We're 10-7. We're going to be hosting Dallas in a playoff game again. We get another shot at them. We feel like we're better this year than we were last year. I wouldn't mess up with it. So if you win the division, that does not give you a license to just start benching players for the final game. I don't care that it's Carolina.
This is a great point by Greg. By the way, hello from Costa Rica. Bucks were 30 seconds away from being 5-8. That game-winning drive against the Falcons could end up being a franchise-saving moment. At 5-8, they don't win division. Bulls is fired, etc. Yes, he's right. And how's the narrative different? That throw to Chris Godwin that he barely caught, that barely went over the fingertips of the defender, I think it was a 4th down, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. He doesn't make that play. We're not talking about any of this. Hell, Kyle Trask might have started the next game. That's the truth. And the whole narrative changes. He's absolutely 1,000% right. So to my point, this could flip in a heartbeat. If they lose to the Saints, and that's not, what's the spread on this game? 4.5?
Yeah, I don't think it's big. At the same token, if you lose to the Saints, you still have in your back pocket, you get to play Carolina at the end. Right. And you'd like to think you'd take care of business against them regardless.
You would think. Stranger things have happened in this
they're
league.
still in a good position. But yes, you want to ideally get it done today, and let's send the Saints home. This is what you want. Bucks, Saints, division on the line, December. You got it at home. Ray J's going to be rocking, by the way. Ray J is going to be rocking on New Year's Eve. So, you can't ask for any better than this. So let's go finish it. I'm ready to finish it.
Yeah, well, we'd all like to see that. But is that good? Again, I have to caution everybody because crazy things happen in this league every week.
As we've talked about, the Saints got no juice for me right now. They just feel like a team that's not even in it, but they are.
We see 10.5-point underdogs. The Raiders beat the mighty Chiefs, right? So it happens every freaking week. We got some good games, by the way. Dolphins, Ravens on New Year's Eve. That's going to be tremendous. I picked the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I'm sticking with it. I think they're the best team. I think Lamar is he's going to be the MVP, even though his numbers aren't incredible. It's the way he plays to win games. Bucks are 2.5-point favorites. So not even, this is Vegas saying that you get 3 points for home field. This is a toss-up game. This is an absolute toss-up game. I don't see it that way. I think the Buccaneers are going to win this game by 2 scores. But again, crazy things happen in this league. That spread alone tells you everything you need to know. Anything can happen in this game. And if they lose it, then you've got to go to Carolina, and who the hell knows what happens. On the road in the NFL could be crappy weather.
And by the way, I don't want to even put it out there, but it's worth saying, if you don't win this game and then you don't get the job done against Carolina either, boy, how different do the narratives change then?
Yeah.
Because right now, Todd Bowles has essentially saved his job at the moment.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Everybody is like, oh, this is done, blah, 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 blah. And listen, nothing is done. Nothing is done. And it's you've got a long way to go in both of these games. This is the NFL, and the Bucks are not world beaters. I got news for you. You got to go back to the Atlanta game and to the Carolina game. They looked awful at times offensively. Lost. completely lost
I
against
think
two
at
really
least
bad
though,
teams.
I think at least though the last two games against Green Bay and against Jacksonville,
Yeah.
it showed like I think the players themselves, especially on offense, we have this in us. Like we went out and we executed better than we have all season long. We know what it looks like now. We know what the recipe is, I guess, so to say. Like I think that was big for their confidence.
Yeah.
At least. And I hope that they continue that this weekend.
Greg adds, I understand your trepidation, but they have to be aggressive to win. I'm not that worried about the Saints. Get on top early and play the theme from Caddyshack. Saints go golfing. Listen, I'm with you. I'm with you, Greg, but I'm also a realist when it comes to these things in this league. They get paid too, and it's only a 2.5 point spread. Anything can happen in this game, and the Bucs are not, first of all, let's remember that Green Bay defense is horrific, awful. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, Jacksonville, they were beat up, and Trevor Lawrence was a shell of himself, whether he was still concussed or whatever the hell is going on. I'm not making excuses, but I'm just saying, let's temper this enthusiasm a little bit, because if they lose these two games, Bowles is out. And let me tell you, if Baker doesn't play well, and if you lose, he's probably not playing well. Do you extend him? I don't know.
I think the numbers that are getting thrown out there now
are ridiculous.
Certainly not there. And we've been kind of saying this is why it's so tough. It's like if you're Baker Mayfield and you're his agent, the fact that Derek Carr got $40 million and 100 guaranteed and all that, like Baker has some leverage there.
Yeah.
But do I still want to give him $40 million necessarily?
No.
Not really in a perfect world.
No. But is there a team out there that will?
There might.
Daniel Jones? Yes.
There might. And that's not saying that I don't want Baker as my quarterback next year. Right. If he wins these games and they win the division and maybe they still have playoff win, absolutely. I want him as my quarterback. That doesn't mean I want to pay him $40 million, though.
Right. And I would hope that, and I asked Baker this question after the game, about, wanting to be here and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, hey, one game at a time. I'm not getting ahead of myself, which is where his mentality should be. But it's interesting. I wonder what's going on behind the scenes. Because if I'm Jason Light, I got to say to myself, do I want to try to lock him in right now? Or do I want to wait till after? Because think about this. If Baker, it's like, this is why this is such a fascinating topic. If Baker plays well in these last two games, which I think he will, and he goes into the playoffs and this team could win a playoff game, what's his price? After the season, his price might be, oh, crap. They won 7 games in a row. He finished as the 5th highest rated quarterback in the league. They lost in the divisional round to a San Francisco team that was beating everybody.
Well, it would probably be Dallas. At this point, it's probably going to be Dallas.
The first I'm talking about, they win a playoff game. Like they would beat Dallas week 1 and win the wild card game. And then they probably go to San Francisco maybe, and lose at San Francisco. And you say, well, if Baker won 7 of his last 8 games, the only loss came at San Francisco. Those were 2 of the losses. It's like, now what's he worth? And he ends up as the 5th or 6th rated quarterback in the league. And now what's his price? Is it $40 million a year? Probably.
The good thing is I don't think Baker, I really don't think he wants to go anywhere. I mean, this guy
has
been searching for
stability. That's my point. So now what if you offer him a contract right now and say, hey, we'll give you, a Derek, or not even a Derek, a Geno Smith deal, $75 million guaranteed.
I will say this.
Will you think he would take it?
I'll say this to the Geno Smith deal. I don't necessarily think much of us bought into the fact that Geno was going to be able to sustain that level of play, and he really hasn't this year. Baker, I think, is far superior as a talent than Geno Smith. And he had the track record before of taking a very dysfunctional franchise to the playoffs for the first time in like 2 decades and having the Chiefs on the ropes and stuff like that in the playoffs. Like, he already had that on his tape and his resume.
Right.
And then he does it this year with the youngest team in the NFL, first-team offensive coordinator. I could make an argument that Baker would have I have more confidence that he's going to sustain a level of play that Geno Smith would not. So it's going to be very fascinating.
It's fascinating.
It just is. I don't want to get too carried ahead because, again, win these 2 games and don't leave it up to chance. But it's very, very fascinating. Light,
are you betting? Because if you think that's going to happen, if you think Baker's going to continue to play well and they're going to make this run, okay? And even if they say they lose a tight game in the playoffs and he plays well, what's his price? I think it's over Geno's numbers. But right now, if you went to him and said, "Hey, this week, sign right here,"
Yeah. It's a lot different because like
75 million guaranteed, 3 years at 25. If I'm Baker, from where I just was, nobody wanted me, 4 million. I've had a couple of good. If I'm Baker,
yeah,
I signed that deal.
It's
I signed that deal in a
because
heartbeat.
2-3 weeks ago I was on
I
the
get
show.
$75 million guaranteed in the barn.
Right. It's interesting because like 2-3 weeks ago on the show before the Green Bay game, I was saying like I was trying to like envision what a Baker contract, what I would feel comfortable if I had the pencil here. And I was saying, okay, I wouldn't go long term. I'd give him like a 2-year deal, and I'd probably go 20 million per 2 years, 40 million. But now that feels like we're way underselling it.
I should text Jason right now and say, "Hey, have you offered Baker a contract this week?" He ain't gonna tell me crap, but just the response would be fun. Like, what do you think? I think you did. If I were Jason Light, I would put that piece of paper right in front of him right now. Would you?
Oh, I don't. Again,
if you and here's the thing: you're looking at his body of work this year. Here's the big part of it.
I think he has to finish the job first. I really do.
But here's the thing.
It first.
Here's the thing that would put me over the top with Baker that I would offer him now. I think he sustains it. I think I'm betting on him playing well this week and next week. Whether he can win, I mean, you're talking about a Saints team that's depleted. You're talking about a Carolina team that, Jesus Christ, they're just ready to go home, right? And then you're going to have a wounded, trending down Eagles team coming in, or a Dallas team that is still under tremendous pressure and can't freaking win on the road, right? So either one of those things, I think if I'm Jason Light, I have to live in my hopes and not my fears and say, I think we continue this run, and I think we can do this.
Well, I will say this: if I'm bringing Baker back under a new contract and whatever that number is, I want to also be assured that I'm getting Mike back as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like I've been kind of going back and forth on Mike, and
that's a package deal.
I've been going back and forth on Mike, and if it's smart, but the fact that they're winning right now and they're set up for long-term success because some of these young guys have started to hit and they have some money to spend. Now they're going to spend a lot of that keeping some of their top players, which they need to.
Yeah.
But again, try to envision what it would look like with Baker here without Mike.
Oh, no.
Probably a different discussion. So I want to make sure those two are a package coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I offer him that deal right now. Because I think after the season, and the reason I would is because Baker has won over this team.
Yeah.
He's won over this city. And that matters. It matters to the Glazers. Their community efforts matter to the Glazers.
And he grew up. He grew up.
He grew up. And like I can see the team, the community rallying around Baker Mayfield as their quarterback moving forward. Now, 3 bad games in a row will change that. That's the NFL. But again, what are your options? Then that's the other thing you got to do. You got to look at your options. Okay, am I going to draft a quarterback with the 15th overall to 19th overall pick? Who's that going to be? Who's still going to be on the board? Maybe not a lot of attractive ones. Okay, so now I'm looking at free agents again.
Too.
Yeah, so now I'm back in the free agent market, and I've lost Baker Mayfield, who's already, won over my team, and now he's out on the open market. No, so I mean, if I'm Jason,
are you going to give Russell Wilson one of those low value?
Oh
deals?
my God,
please!
Are you kidding me? No, you want no part of that. So then you got who's going to play quarterback for you next year? Kyle Trask, a rookie that you drafted with the 20th overall pick. Who's that even look like? Is Chicago getting rid of Justin Fields, and what's that going to cost you? So there's, I know what it's going to cost. I have to give up 0 assets for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
Zero,
and I know what it looks like.
A draft pick, not waste. I don't have to give up a draft pick. I don't have what you would have to give up for Justin Fields, a significant one. I'm not going to make a draft pick with a quarterback. So I keep Baker Mayfield without giving up any assets that I can then take those assets and build your team around. So when you look at the giant picture of it, signing Baker Mayfield and doing it right now this week, putting $75 million guaranteed right in front of his face. And if I'm Baker Mayfield, from where I've been, I'm signing that contract right now. It might be undervalued, but here's what it looks like. Okay, I took less money. I Tom Brady'd this. So you can build or give that money to Mike Evans. Oh my God, you're even a bigger hero now, right? I took less money than I may have made on maybe the open market, but you don't know that. But you can sell that and say, I took less money so Mike Evans could get signed. I'm a team player. We're a group here. Build around me. Let's, man, now you've got it going on. So if I'm Baker, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
If I'm Jason Light, that's what I'm doing. And I'm doing it now.
And I think they're going to figure it out. I mean, listen, the Bucks have one of the smartest front offices in there. Obviously, they have the cap expert of them all in Mike Greenberg. They're going, I believe that they're going to get Baker signed to some contract. We'll see what it looks like. They're going to keep Mike, I think. Winfield, obviously, he might be a candidate to get the tag first and then revisit that maybe down the line. Wirfs is going to get his contract. And then, listen, I don't think Shaq Barrett, I think there's a big chance he's not here next year. No, and then one of those two higher paid corners, given the way Zion has played when he's gotten a shot, I think one of those two guys
guaranteed money.
I know, but I still think I would see what you could get for him. I think one of those two guys is expendable, Dean or
I would definitely
Davis.
If I could trade him. Oh, hell yeah.
Right.
Hell yeah. 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 Interesting. I mean, and that's why the conversation, that's happening now with Baker's agent would be interesting. If I were Jason Light, I'd be all over it because, if he goes on this run, like I think he's going to go, and they get to the second round of the playoffs, tomorrow's price is not today's price.
And by the way, I've been kind of like, by the way, I've been trying not to get too ahead of it because I'm keeping these games in mind. But if they get to the playoffs and they host a game in the wild card and it's going to be Dallas, all of assured, guess what? I mean, Dallas hasn't proven that they're a great playoff team. And by the way, they stink on the road.
Yeah,
they stink
exactly.
on the road. So the Bucks, I think, would have a great shot.
Brian Molinaro's maybe a little bit behind. It says that the Bucks had a first place schedule. I don't know what this guy's talking about. What Mike was talking about is the schedules for the entire NFC South. Like if you look, especially for the Saints, that schedule was easier. Like none of these teams have distinguished themselves within the league. Like I think if you probably went and look at NFC South wins of teams over 500, maybe two. Yeah. Maybe I got to go through all of it.
Listen, you can almost say like the Bucks kind of lost to the teams that you thought they were going to lose to. Like they lost to Philly, they lost to Detroit,
lost to 49ers.
They lost to the 49ers and they lost to Buffalo. Yep. They stole two that we thought that they weren't going to win, and that was Green Bay
and Minnesota.
And no, I thought they'd beat Minnesota. Green Bay and Jacksonville. They stole two there that going into the season.
On the road, Green Bay, Jacksonville, and Minnesota were games.
And then they left two on the table against Atlanta earlier, and then the one against Houston. Yeah. And then Indianapolis ended up being a better team than we thought they were. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like the journey to get here has not been what we thought, but at the end of the day, they're at the point where we thought they could be at their best, and that's a 9-win, 10-win team.
What you see is incredible parity across the league. Incredible parity across the league. And we want to say it's all mediocre. But if you're in that, upper mediocre, you're in the playoffs. Yeah. You want to say playoff teams should be, an 11-win team. That's not the way it is. This year, I think we're probably going to have 4 or 5 teams with 9 wins in the playoffs. We might. The Bucks, they could get to 10, but you're talking about the Bucks, the 2 wild cards. In both leagues are going to be 9-win teams, 10-win teams. So maybe
listen, realistically, I mean, I think there's only like 4 teams that are like in like my Super Bowl bubble right now.
Yeah.
Combined in both conferences. Like the AFC, the AFC outside of Baltimore is wide open.
Yeah.
Wide open.
To me, it's the Ravens. The Chiefs aren't good. The Bills are whatever. The Dolphins, I didn't think that. I thought they were soft. I got to see, can the Dolphins go on the road and win in a cold weather game in the playoffs? No.
I don't know. They've only won like one playoff game in the last like 2 decades.
Exactly. So they're far from a proven, commodity. Yeah. All right, we got to hit one more break. Let's hit one more break, and when we come back, we'll kind of wrap things up with for the weekend, looking at what's ahead. We're brought to you by Synovus Bank, one of our great new sponsors. We appreciate them. They are the big bank with a very, very local flavor. Give you real personal service. My good friend John Acosta is one of the managers over there. He's been in banking since 1983 here locally. Those are the type of people that they have all over their roster at Synovus Bank. People who have been here, know local businesses, know local folks, and know how to get the job done and give you that small bank feel for a very, very big international bank. And that's Synovus. So head on in there, go to synovus.com, find your local branch, head on in there, tell them JP sent you. Ask for John Acosta or somebody like him, and they will take care of you. That's Synovus Bank. We really appreciate them as one of our great new sponsors. Quick break, and we'll wrap it up here on the JP Peterson Show. Is getting a home equity line a good idea right now with rates so high? Well, I put that question to my good friend Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services, and he says it all depends on where you're at financially. Many of us with ridiculous inflation have been charging up those credit cards, right? At 29% interest, hoping to catch up, but that ain't happening. Those interest payments are killing you. So yes, a consolidation loan and tapping into that crazy equity in your house is a great idea. That strategy can drop your monthly nut by thousands of dollars and stop wasting money on those interest payments. Fitz, the mortgage guy, has done thousands of loans for the past 25 years in Tampa Bay. Just did one for a former colleague who was a manager for a big bank mortgage division. He knows Scott is an independent broker and can get him a way better deal than at his own big bank. AMS Tampa has way lower overhead and gives you the savings. So if you're worried about fees and closing costs, have the free consultation with Scott and look at the actual numbers. It may shock you what he can do. Be smart. Stay one step ahead. Email Fitz at scott@amstampa.com, scott@amstampa, or call 813-294-7595. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386-722. American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020.
Have any old coins sitting around the house? Well, the Gold and Diamond Source will purchase a variety of different types of coins and bullion. Their gold buying program includes sterling silver, silver, platinum, and watches. They also accept unusual pieces that other jewelry stores do not, such as gold bars and sterling silver flatware. The list of items they do accept is far more extensive than those they don't, so check it out. While you're there, you can check out the largest collection of any family-owned jewelry store in the country, especially with summer coming to an end. The holidays are right around the corner. Never too early to start your holiday shopping, especially if you're planning on getting engaged or have any birthdays or anniversaries coming up. Come on in and find out what buying jewelry should be like with an expert staff of gold and diamond jewelry enthusiasts. And the best part, they treat you like family. And if you're worrying about price, don't. The Gold and Diamond Source has something for everyone's budget. They even have a layaway. If you stop in and get your favorite piece now, you can have it paid off by Christmas. Plus, you can even finance your purchase with 0% interest for up to 5 years, and you can get a $5,000 diamond for only $83 a month. It's the greatest folks in the world, Julie and Steve Weintraub, the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. It will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
All right. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com.
Let's go. Right now. back to the show with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here, brought to you by the great folks at the Golden Diamond Source. Their after Christmas sale is going on right now, 50% off of everything. It's a wonderful opportunity to go get some shiny gold, maybe all those Visa cards that you got for Christmas. Now you can go spend that at the Golden Diamond Source. Great after Christmas sale, and they got plenty in stock too. Sometimes you go into those places and it's all picked over. Not at the Golden Diamond Source. They got tons of inventory, the best stuff, but their after Christmas sale is on now, 50% off. Many of the items in there, so go check it out. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road. And don't forget, 0% financing for 3 to 5 years. So if that's, you don't want to put it on your credit card at 29%, that's a great idea. Go get the financing there at 0% and get the biggest ring you can possibly find, like the one I got from my baby at the Golden Diamond Source. Great folks over there. Keep it local and tell them JP sent you. All right, we got to get to some other things, including your favorite team, Nick, your Tampa Bay Rays. Their foundation of the future didn't even show up for his court appointment, and they raided his house, or they went to his house to talk to him. It's hard to, you got to unpack a lot of the different reports that are out there, but it appears that he's, I guess you would call him a fugitive from the law at this point, right? He knows he's wanted for questioning. He knows he's wanted for suspicion of being with multiple underage girls. This ain't good. What the hell's going on?
It's so difficult to get real reporting on this stuff, and what came out this whole week, we're finally getting updates on this. And listen, it's so hard to really understand what a lot of this means. What you kind of said, a fugitive, I mean, it certainly reads like that.
Yeah.
And from everything that I'm understanding when I'm reading here is he fired his legal team.
Yeah.
And I guess they were the ones that would have been responsible for informing him that he needed to show up for summoning, and that did not happen.
Yep.
I still haven't figured out, has he even been located on the island? Because there was the thing where they raided his homes and he wasn't there. None of it sounds great at all. It really doesn't. And then you're getting even more kind of cases that are coming to light. And I don't know, the longer this drags on, it doesn't seem like it's getting better. You're waiting for some hopeful news, but it doesn't seem great. And I feel like if you're the Rays and you're a Rays fan, maybe you already started doing this, but you have to look at life without Wander Franco as if he's not even in the picture right now. And again, we've kind of been saying this over the past 6 months since this came out. That sucks.
That's horrible.
It's horrible. I mean, this is the most talented player this franchise has ever been able to get in the building. They gave him the longest term contract they've ever given out a player, and we never even really got to see him get going as an elite player in this league. But again, if all this stuff comes to be true and what he did and what he's being accused of happened, then obviously good riddance. Then it's obviously Wander Franco's own fault. Yeah. And that's where you have to be at it right now.
And this is Thomas brings up a good point. He says a special investigator left 2 business cards, no charges, no nada. So this is and this is why, the language matters. And I think a lot is getting lost in the translation. I think the AP reported that there were 2 raids. Okay. So when you hear 2 raids on 2 places, you think of, guys going in there with guns, taking out computers and cell phones and stuff like that. Evidently, I don't know what happened, but there are other reports that the special investigator went to 2 homes and left a business card and said, hey, we need to talk to you. And then they set up a time for him to come in and talk to the investigator, and he didn't show up, maybe because of, the fact that he fired his attorneys and didn't know about it. That's all very plausible. And it's all very different from raiding his homes to him being a fugitive from the law and not showing up. So I want to, try to be fair. And I don't know where this is. I mean, the case has been going on forever. And I frankly just thought that this would, go the way of most cases in the Dominican Republic of baseball players. And that's, it doesn't get prosecuted. The right people get paid off. And that's, that's the way it happens. And this is clearly not going away, but I don't think it's also at the point of he's a fugitive from the law, on the run. I don't think it's that either. So, but the bottom line is Wander Franco was the cornerstone of your franchise. And the fact of the matter is, with his behavior within the franchise, so much so that they had to suspend him for being a bad teammate, do you even want him back? That's something I don't think the Rays do, to be quite honest with you.
And the Rays try to operate with a squeaky clean type of clubhouse and things like that. And like you said, they were already not to this extent, clearly. Let's not confuse the two. Getting suspended for being a bad teammate or whatever Kevin Cash called it is a lot different than being accused of having relations with a minor. Okay,
right.
Those two are very separate. But there were already questions about his maturity and needing to grow up, and this kind of is just added to all the smoke that's been around him. And when you're 22 years old and you already have a large contract and everything, and I don't know. Even if this all goes away, I do not know, honestly, if the Rays would just welcome him back with open arms, or at least it would take a lot to get trust, I think.
If he were cleared to play, would you rather the Rays trade him or try and rehabilitate him and mature him, give him a mentor, so to speak, and try and get him to be a better teammate, grow up and be a great baseball player? Because clearly, he's got the talent, but will he ever grow up? I mean, grow up.
You're saying if he doesn't get convicted of anything,
right? If the charges are dropped, wink, wink. And is Major League Baseball doing their own investigation? I don't know. I think they are. They should be. And I don't know what that's going to turn up, and they'll probably keep it private. But, and I don't want to erase but I don't know what happened. And this could be, clearly there's an extortion attempt that was made public. There was an extortion attempt. So that, from the very beginning, I've been dubious of this. But I also know about, there's a lack of character here that he has displayed for quite some time. So it doesn't shock me if that would be the case. But I certainly do not want to insinuate that I know something went on here. These are very serious charges. And it could very well be just an extortion attempt, because that has been made public and admitted to. And so that's part of this deal. So I don't know. It's a whole lot of I don't know. But I'll say this. If I could get a haul for Wander Franco of talent, I would take it and wash my hands of it.
And listen, I could see the Rays doing that.
Yeah,
I really could. I mean, the part of this is he is such a, elite talent at a premium position, and you have a lot invested in him. But I hate the whole situation. The whole situation just stinks. It smells ugly. I don't see it getting better right now. But there's still so many unanswered questions. That's why it's so hard to really, and you really shouldn't put a judgment on it, because there's so many unanswered questions.
Yeah. All right. A couple other things.
He didn't even show up for his own son. Would have answered these. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
We just don't know. A couple other things.
But I said, but just to wrap it up, the Rays have to look at life without him.
Yeah,
and they have to operate that way.
They have to move on. Yeah. Life without him. No question about that. And if he comes back, it's a bonus in terms of his playing. And then, rehabilitate him on the field and trade him if you can. The Rangers coming in tomorrow night to face the Bolts. I think this is a huge game for them. We talked about this yesterday. There just seemed to be a lack of emotion, a lack of fire. John Cooper said that. We talked with Brian Bradley about that. And maybe that's something that this team is lacking. The Maroons, the Corey Perrys of the world that brought that fire to the locker room and got guys off their ass and playing the way they should be playing. That was a little bit of a disappointment, I think, the other night when you don't defend your home ice against your hated rival like that. No real fights, no real physicality that that over the top physicality that you would hope to see. Didn't see it. And even though I thought they outplayed them, they outchanced them in high danger chances, they just didn't have that emotion that you would want to see.
But it's the same story with the Lightning. I mean, I thought they had chances. Bobrovsky played really well. He robbed Braden Point on that kind of semi-breakaway.
He did.
But again, they were on the power play, and then Hedman got beat. I mean, that's simple.
You can't give up a shorty like that.
And I even thought from where the angle of the shot was, I thought Bassey might have been able to do a little bit better on that also.
Yeah.
It's the same issues. And I'm not sure if the Lightning, again, I don't think they still have won a game yet without scoring 3 goals.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. It's the same issues, really. And it's so hard for them. Like, they had that 3-game winning streak, and then they come back out, and it just flatlines again. And now you got the Rangers, who I think are tops in the Eastern Conference. That's tough.
Yeah. All right. Also yesterday, Miami loses to Rutgers. They've won 1 bowl game in the last, I think, 14 years. Bobby Bowden has more wins than the University of Miami does in bowl games since 2007. Mario Cristobal, again, exposed as being outcoached by Greg Schiano. I think Miami's program is I think it's teetering. I really do. They have no home game atmosphere. They have NIL money, but it's, it just seems like a mercenary type project with a coach that is not a great game coach. So I think Miami right now is floundering a little bit, even though they're doing well in recruiting. That's an embarrassment.
Yeah, not a great look. But again, if they continue to recruit this way and they got the funds to do it, and listen,
it'll be a constant cycle through there.
Players are looking their way now, and that's something they weren't doing before. So I like to think if they keep doing that, they're going to figure it out. But Cristobal is an in-game coach. He showed this at Oregon too.
He's bad. Not good. All right, I'll be a tepid interest at best in the Orange Bowl. We'll see where that goes. No show on Monday, folks. New Year's Day. We'll be back on Tuesday with a live show for you. We will be live at the patio on Monday evening as we get ready for those semifinal games. So come out and join us there from 5 to 7 o'clock. Peter Blake will be joining me there. And then on Tuesday, we'll be back here in the morning with a regular show. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great weekend. Go Noles, go Bolts, go Bucks. And we'll be doing a post-game show from the Bucks game as well. We'll see you then.